Hi there, my name's April Sawtell and welcome to my channel. Today what I'm going to be doing is I'm just putting this quilt that's here behind me. I'm going to be putting these blocks together. I'm just going to be making blocks and sewing them in rows. The block that I'm using is the single Irish chain quilt block that I showed on the last video that I had put out. It's very simple. If you want to make this quilt too, all you're going to need is a bunch of quilt blocks. I'm going to link that below, and if you want to follow along and make a quilt like this, just use that, go back to that video. It'll give you a step-by-step tutorial how to make this quilt block. What I'm going to be doing today is I'm just going to be making up a bunch of blocks. It's a really fun block to make, so I had so much fun I decided I want to make a full-blown quilt with it. So I'm going to make a quilt about 84 by 84. What I'd like to do in this project is I'd like to use up some of this fabric. This is fabric that was gifted to me probably a year ago, maybe, from Trudy, and it was from her grandmother, and it's really a cool thing to have. There's a lot of fabric on here, so I'd like to use some of this up. So I've got 3 different colors here, and I've just got a skinny one here. But I'm going to see what I can use up making these quilt blocks. I wanted a really muted quilt. I wanted a very low volume quilt. So I'm not sure how I really like this one. This one might be a little bit too much. I'm not sure. I'm still going to go ahead and make the blocks anyway, because if I don't use them in the end when I put this all together, if I don't use them, I'll put them into a different quilt at some point with this color. So I want my quilt to be 84 across and 84 down, okay? So in order to do that, my blocks are 12 inches, right? They're 12 inches when I get these done. They finish at 12 inches. I'm going to need 7 across, 7 down. That'll give me 49 blocks. That's all I'm going to worry about. I also, when I was choosing to do this quilt, I decided I wanted to do it really low volume. I just don't want it to be really busy at all. I haven't made a low volume quilt in a long time, and I just love the simplicity of it, and I thought that these fabrics would work really well for that. What I'm going to be using is I've got some fat quarters that I've used. Those worked really well in this. I've got just some yardage that I've used. I'm using all of this fabric here, and I've got some more yardage. You're going to need background fabric. You're going to need 4 pieces for each block. I've got everything cut down to strips here, as you can see. All of my strips are 20 inches long. I've got my strips all prepared. My white strips are all prepared. So all I'm going to do is sew those together. What you'll be needing for the materials today, you're going to need your fabric, of course. I've got my scissors, I've got a rotary cutter, and you're going to need a ruler. The ruler's to cut down to your 2.5 inch squares once you get going here. And you're just going to need an iron, and that should be it. Okay? And if you want to use pins, you might want to have your pins handy too. Okay, let's get started. So you're going to take your fabric and you're going to put right sides together. I always like to just keep my darker color on the top. For some reason, that's just how I like. So I've got my focal point on the top and I've got my background fabric on the bottom. That way when I press it, it's already facing the way I want the seam to go. I just like everything dark side up. So when I iron to the dark side, it's just facing me already. Okay, and I'm just going to sew these strips down at 1/4 inch, right sides together, and I'm following my painter's tape. I'm following the guide on my presser foot. If you're following along with this and you want to make these blocks and you want to make them in bulk, you don't have to cut the 21 inches. Just go ahead, use your width of fabric. You know, you'll get a couple of blocks out of that instead of doing every piece at 21 inches. If you're using a fat quarter, of course, you're going to just do 1 block at a time when you're sewing here. Right here, I've just got widths of fabric. So I'll get 2 blocks out of each of these. This is right here beside me, so I'll be able to just grab and sew. Some of these I did it with the fabric because the fabric I was using was long enough, so I did it by width. Some I made the 20 inches because they were like the fat quarters and stuff, so I measured everything. In the tutorial that I have out, you'll see that I did that. I made just the amount of fabric that you needed per square. But if you're doing bulk like this and you need a lot of squares, you might just want to use your yardage. If you're using jelly rolls, of course it will be longer, and then you'll just cut it down to size as you go. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to line these all up in front of me, all of my strips. They're lined right here on the table. I'm going to grab them and I'm going to keep the dark side up. That way when I go to press it, I'm going to set the seam, and then I'm just going to push the seam open, and that will all fall to the dark side. So by having the dark side up, when I go to push the seam out, it will automatically go to the dark side. As soon as I'm done, I'm going to lay it over here. I've pulled this out a little bit. It's just some white yardage. I'm going to use this to my advantage. I'll move my piece of paper though. And I'm just going to drape it over. Just gives me a spot to use to drape. Okay, and I'm just going to do this to all of these strips. You can line your strips up, and all you're going to do is just line them up right along the line here, and you just want to kind of layer them. This is if you're going to cut them in. This will be if you're going to just cut these as multiple pieces. You don't have to cut each strip one strip at a time. Just layer them so you don't have, you know, the bumps underneath where you're going over all kinds of seams at one time. All right, and then just line them up, and you're going to want to square off your first edge there, okay? And then you'll have a nice clean edge to work with. And then you're just going to line up your ruler, and all you're doing, if you have a 2.5-inch ruler, or whatever ruler you've decided you're going to use, and then you're just going to start cutting strips. I have to pull mine away each time just so I can see the, you know, where my line is. I'm just going to take all of my bundles over to the sewing machine, and I'm going to start sewing them together. Now that we've got this into 8 pieces, all we're going to do, we're going to start laying these out. One piece going with the pink on the top, one piece going with the pink on the bottom. And you're going to just line this up. This will nest really well together because how the seams are, the way that we're matching them, one seam will be going to the left and one seam will be going to the right. All you're going to do, make sure they're all nestled in. You can see that right there. So they're nice and tight. You can feel that with your finger. Okay, we're going to go over to the sewing machine, and we're going to do this to all of these pieces. We're going to sew 1/4 inch down. I'll see you at the sewing machine. Okay, I've got these matched up now. I've got the pink face up and the pink face down that's on top. Seams are all nested. You can feel that with your finger. If you want, you can just put a pin right in there, or you can just hold it. You're going to follow your 1/4 inch seam, pull my pin out, and I'm just going to sew all the way down. I'm going to set up another one because I'm just going to chain piece these. Just make sure they're good and nested. Assemble this. So you're going to take one of your 4 patches, you're going to line this up over here to your left with the point going out. You're going to take a background square and you're going to put it in the center. You're going to take another 4 patch and you're going to lay this so the square is facing outward. Take a center, and this is going to be your focal point, a white square beside that. And then we're just going to put a white square beside that, and then we're going to put another white square on that side of that. Take another 4 patch, and all we're going to do is make sure that the focal point is face down. We'll take another white for the center, and take another 4 patch, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to make that focal point face down. You always know that this center piece has to connect to the focal points. You should always get it right. All I'm going to do is sew right sides together. So this is going to go to this side. I'm going to sew 1/4 inch. I'm going to open it. I'm going to take this one. I'm going to add that right sides together. And now I'm just going to set this seam, open this up, and push the seams open. Take 1 white square and 1 quilt block. And all you're going to do is put those together, and you're going to sew 1/4 inch all the way down. Then open this up, and you're going to just add another white one on top of this, right sides together. And you're going to do that all the way down for as many blocks as you need. So I'm going to need 7 squares. So I'm going to go, you're just going to alternate, white, then a quilt block, white, then a quilt block, white, then a quilt block, for as many as you need. Just do that all the way down. I need 7 rows. So on the next row, I'm going to start with, I'll be starting the row with a quilt block, and then I'll add the white to it. So you're alternating. Just like this little pattern here, you're just going to start with your quilt block, then you'll use white, and you're just going to alternate. That will be row 1. Row 2, you're going to start with your white, then your quilt block, white, quilt block, so on and so forth. Put a number on each row as you make them, okay? You're going to want to press this row to one side. When you come to row 2, you're going to press that row to that side. You're going to alternate each row. So when you go to fold these over and put them together, they're going to nest together. Now, I did have all this on footage, but for somehow I lost all the footage. So I have to show it to you like this. Okay, and then what you're going to start doing is you're going to go, you'll start with row 1, you'll lay it on row 2, and you're going to sew all the way across. Then you're going to take that, and you're going to just keep adding each row until you're done. Now, I like to leave my pins in that say row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4. I always put those on the far left side of my quilt, so I always have the order. I never get confused how it's going to go because I'll have the pins there. Go ahead and do that to all of your blocks. I'm going to show you how this all comes out. Now I've already sewn rows 3 and 4 together, and I've matched up those points as well. So I'm going to recommend pin, pin, pin. Put the 2 together, so like 3 and 4. I put those together, matched those seams, pinned them, and I'm just continuing to do that throughout the rest of the quilt. So the good part is I've only got 3 pieces left, so I've only got to do that once more and then add the bottom. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to put this down, and I'm just going to add rows 3 and 4. So happy my labels are still on there with my numbers. All right, I'm just going to do this to the rest of them, and then I'm going to see you in a bit, okay, when I get this all finished. Quilt top is finished. It ended up about 83 by 83. It was supposed to be 84 by 84. I lost an inch somewhere. That's okay. That's the least of my worries. After I took this all apart, I pinned it, put it back together. Then what happened is I lost my order. I had my pins on, and on the left-hand side that I kept telling you about. Well, what happened is when I sewed rows 5, 6, and 7, how I started it, I couldn't attach it. I had to spin it around. I should have done it in a different order. So there was no way for me to attach rows 5, 6, and 7 the way that I originally had planned, but that was okay. Everything looked fine. I was happy with it. Most of my points came together. Trust me, I feel really good about this. This quilt, I'm just so happy that I was able to finish it. I'll put some better pictures of it. I'll bring it outside during the daytime so I can give you a few little better shots. I'll put those in this video. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. I ran into so many obstacles with this quilt that it actually, now that it's done and finished, my heart feels really good and I feel really happy about it. I learned a lot from it, and especially make sure you pin and don't work when you're super tired. That was my whole problem. So I'm going to get some better shots. I'm going to take this outside tomorrow, and then I will also put that in the video so you can see some better shots of it with some daylight on it. I'm tired. It was fun. I just want to show you guys, this is what I have left after this project. So when I was making the project, remember when I started, I said I wasn't sure if I was going to use these pink ones because I thought they were too bright for the quilt that I had hanging up there. There were all these light colors here. So I started making those, and then I'm like, I had all these ideas running through my head. So I decided to just keep making up blocks and cutting out squares and making 4 patches, and then I was going to play around and see what else I could come up with because I wanted to use a lot of this fabric up, which I did make some dents in it, so I was pretty happy about that. So when I got done, I'm just showing you what I have left. So this little box here is just filled with scraps. I have all of this here in the middle. I still have all this, all these rolls of fabric here, and I have this over here. This is all the pieces the strips that I had cut. And I also have these quilt blocks here behind me that are made, as well as I have all these blocks made up too. So here's the dilemma. After working with the quilt that I had just finished the quilt top with, I have no interest right now in coming up with any more quilt ideas. I don't really want to put it all away and store it because it would be very easy for me to put it away, store it, and not come back to it anytime soon. Well, it's all here, and I feel like I should finish it. I can probably make a few quilts here with all this. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it in a nice little bin, and I'm going to keep it over by my sewing machine. I'll probably leave all of this the extras hanging over here just because it will probably just inspire me. Just because I'm kind of bored of it right now. I don't know if I'm bored of it or I'm just tired of it. It was a fun project to make, don't get me wrong. But after having spent so many days on something, I'm just such a quick quilter. I like fast quilts. I don't like a lot of complications. I like to just do it more to just kind of relax and let things go. That's why I don't follow a lot of patterns. But after I made this one, I just decided, you know what, just take a break from it, get this one done, put all this away, keep it by the sewing machine, and come back to it. So I think that'll be a lot of fun. I don't know what I'll make with it sometime in the future, and hopefully not too far in the future because, I would like to have this off my sewing area. But I think I'll keep it out for now. And I surely do have a lot of pieces left. I really did overcut. I was having so much fun making these blocks and just not paying any attention to what I was doing. And I also can't wait to use up a bunch of this. These rolls they're just unbelievable. They are so big. There's just so much fabric on it. So I mean, look at that. And I used quite a bit of these. This one was really big when I started. So, but I also cut some strips out of it too. I mean, I decided I would cut some sashin. So with the right ideas, I can use it for sashin and I can use it for quilt blocks and solids. And So the possibilities are endless. And I know I'm going to have to store those and put those back away. But I'm really talking more about like the all the ones I've already cut up here. Between all of the blocks and all of the strips I've got, I'm going to be able to come up with a lot of ideas. So stay tuned for that. I'll probably post something some other time after I do it. But I'm going to move on for now. Say bye, little Miss Reddy Thready. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. I'll see you next time. Remember to keep it simple. Have a nice day. Thanks for watching. Bye.